Hello to all the homeopaths and homeopathic students across the world. The homeopath whom I am going to interview today is the honorary professor at the University of the Aegean, Greece. He is honorary professor at the Moscow Medical Academy. He is professor at the Kiev Medical Academy and collaborating professor at the Basque Medical University, and Doctor honoris causa at Dr. Victor Babes University of Medicine and Pharmacy of Timisoara in Romania. Can you guess his name? In 1995, he established the International Academy of Classical Homeopathy in Ionissos, Greece, and in 1996, he was honored with the Right Livelihood Award, also known as the Alternative Nobel Prize. I'm sure you are able to guess his name, but there's more to him and I would like to share. He's the author of some of the best-selling homeopathy books ever. He's considered the most influential homeopath of the 21st century, and he has trained more than 10,000 doctors at his academy in Ionissos. We are very, very pleased to have with us today Professor George Vithoulkas. Professor Vithoulkas, welcome to Homeopathy.com. It's a pleasure to have you again with us on a hot seat and do a live interview.
Thank you, Manish, and I appreciate your efforts and I appreciate your good words.
Thank you so much, Professor. Professor, I've interviewed you 4 times by now, and this is going to be my 5th interview with you. So I have been wondering, what is left to ask you? One thing that has intrigued me in your lectures, which I have seen in videos and also in your live class here at the Academy, is that you often mention about India. You seem to have a very, very strong connection with India. I know that you have studied in India for 3 years, but that was long back. But you still, there's hardly a class that goes by in which you don't mention something about India, Indian values, Indian ethos, Indian culture. Tell us more about your India connection.
Well, I cannot explain it, but it seems that when I was in India, these 3 years, I never felt homesick for Greece. When I came back to Greece, I felt homesick for India. So there was something which in India culture, in Indian mentality, in Indian way of life that suit me very much and appreciate it. And what I appreciated mostly, of course, was the love that existed within the families, the Indian families, which at the moment I was there, really, it was a very strong connection between the family members. And perhaps it is because I never felt this in my young years, because I lost my parents when I was very young, and I never felt this warmth of the family that I appreciated very much, the Indian way of living. So that's one thing. The second maybe is the people I met in India. They gave me so much love, and I gave them also, and created a connection on an emotional level that was really impressive for me and stayed in my memories very vividly. So more or less this is the connection. I cannot say that from the homeopathic point of view it was the best time, but still I enjoyed even that, though I changed several times, several schools there, etc.
You studied in Bombay and Calcutta.
And I went back, to Calcutta, where they told me B.K. Bose was teaching there, practicing teaching, and that he was the direct student of Kent. For me, that was a myth, you know, this. Kent was really a person who had appreciated tremendously in his books, in his expositions, in his materia medica, in his theory. For me, it was the great guru after Hahnemann. And I was really excited to go and find B.K. Bose in Calcutta. And Calcutta, of course, B.K. Bose was 85-year-old by the time I went there. Yeah, he was having already his life, you know. And, but still I enjoyed the contact with him. He was very excited when he told the students that here is a student that has come from so far to study in India, and you are lazy and you don't study, etc. And here is a man who came to study. Eventually, our relation was a little bit upset because somebody told him that George is not studying homeopathy, he's studying allopathic medicine, because they have come to my room and they have seen I was reading the allopathic books for practice of medicine, etc. And that made him so upset. He didn't want to talk to me anymore. And I did not know why, until somebody came and told me this was the reason. But it was all very nice. I mean, I never held any grudge against him. He was a great person and a great prescriber also.
And what was the kind of...
So this was, in a nutshell, my story in India.
And what was the kind of homeopathy that was being practiced at that time in India?
The kind of medicine was polypharmacy.
Polypharmacy.
It was polypharmacy, and was superficial. The way that it was taught, it was quite superficial and not really teaching Hahnemannian homeopathy. And I was disappointed, of course, but still the Indian way of life and everything that was happening was so exciting that these 3 years I passed in India were the best years of my life, because it was the only years I did not work. All the other years in my life, from 11 to 30, when I was to India, to 27, and so to 30 actually, 62 years. And then 3 years no working, and after 65, 66 started working again until now. Still I have not asked to take my pension. You see, I was due for a pension about 20 years ago, but I do not take it. I like to work because I like homeopathy, as you know.
Yes, that's so
and
true.
I like it very much.
You were practicing homeopathy or studying homeopathy even when you were in Africa.
Yes.
And then you started studying in India, where you saw a lot of polypharmacy happening.
Yes.
So what was your grounding in classical homeopathy? Where did you learn the practice of classical homeopathy from?
Well, unfortunately, I cannot say I had some teachers in homeopathy, because in South Africa, where I was first came in contact with homeopathy, there was no classical homeopathy. It was a school teaching polypharmacy, and when I went there and I found out their curriculum, what they taught, it was, for me, it was forbidden. Forbidden to go there, and I kept on studying myself. I studied, I could say 12 hours a day in the first 12 years. And that was a pleasure for me. You see, if somebody hears he's studying so many hours, how it's possible? But it's like someone who has great pleasure in reading something which excites me so much, and I was so happy to read homeopathic articles, homeopathic literature, of theory, the organon, the Kant's Materia Medica, especially Kant's philosophy and lesser writings, and all the old masters. In these 3 years between 60 and 63, when I went to India, I had written, I have read practically everything that was written so far as classical homeopathy. Of course, I choose the books I read, and I never read books with specialities and mixopathy and all that. I was not interested. But the interesting thing, perhaps, is for this interview to know that I came in contact with homeopathy after an accident with my car, which I had. Before that, I have been told about homeopathy, but I did not pay attention. And actually, there was a man who pretended to be a teacher of homeopathy and practicing homeopathy, and he was given specialities.
Complexes.
So I had a very severe, by that time, severe hay fever I was suffering, and I asked, what about hay fever complex? You see, he said, yes, take this bottle. I took the bottle, I suppressed the hay fever, and I lost my energy. I said, well, what is this? So I rejected this as well, until I had that accident with my car. And then I thought, what shall I do now? I cannot travel going to see my friends. I must read something. What should I read? I called a friend. I said, what is this little black book that you had in your desk? He says, Berica Materia Medica. Where can I buy it? You buy it in Joubert Street, Nelson's Pharmacy. So I took the bus, I went there, bought the book, and I started reading the book in the bus coming back. And I read the whole book. This Berica Materia Medica I had read right through within 2-3 days. Later on, I went back to the pharmacy and I picked up the books that I wanted to read. I picked up Hahnemann's books, Kant's books, and some Farrington and Dunham and some others that I skimmed through the books and I saw this is interesting, I'll take it. When I went to the pharmacy with all this bag, he said, you will not understand anything. Why you take this? You are a novice. Take the book Tissue Salts by Süssler. Then you start. No. I said, no, I'll take this. I take this back in my car and went back and I started studying. This was interesting because all this story, because I had an accident and I started homeopathy after the accident. When I was in America, Greek-American psychiatrist who kept on saying when I was teaching there, he was in the class, come, I want to take you for dinner. I want to take you for dinner. I said, okay, we come for dinner one night. So in the car, he asked me, he says, I want to ask you, is it true that you started homeopathy after having an accident in which you were thrown out of the car, and as you were lying unconscious in the street, Berica Materia Medica, that book, fell from the sky in your lap. And then when you came back, he said, I said to him, do you believe this? He says, I was told this story by a serious person.
More myths about George Vithoulkas.
Yes.
I just heard Carlos speaking about you, another myth, that when he first heard about you, he heard that George Vithoulkas is the owner of Ilonisos.
He's the owner of Ilonisos, yes. Yes, I had some yachts there. And
yes.
it was the rumor was going on. You know, there's always a myth going together with.
Even I knew, even I heard a myth that George Vithoulkas has his own helicopter and he travels all across Greece in his helicopter.
Yes, that is true, because some rich people, in order to reach me, they come by helicopter.
Yes.
And of course, this is natural for them because they have a lot of money. They can afford it. So people have seen the helicopters come, and they have seen, actually by the time that the BBC was here or the German television was here, one of my patients was coming with helicopter and they filmed it. So the story went out that I have my own helicopter and I don't know what else I have. The fact is that I feel that I'm very rich because I have everything I need.
Yes.
And I never needed something which I did not have. So I feel I'm rich. So if they ask me, are you rich? Yes, I'm very rich. I have everything.
I've seen the love that you get from your students here, and I think that makes you the richest homeopath in this earth.
Exactly.
Yes.
So this is the great riches.
It is wonderful to know that you are a self-made homeopath, and this makes me send out a message to all the homeopathic students across the world. I have seen homeopathic students crib about their level of homeopathic education, their teachers, the poor education that they receive, the teachers not teaching them enough, students not getting enough clinical education, and they take this as an excuse for practicing polypharmacy, for doing allopathy, and for not following homeopathy. Here is the man, the best homeopath in this world, and you can learn from him. He says that he is a self-made man. He learned from the books. He studied homeopathy 12 hours a day for 12 years before he was confident of his results. Ask yourself, for how long do you study homeopathy? How many hours of education that you get? How many hours you study homeopathic books? How many times have you studied Hahnemann, Kent, Borig, Boger, Dunham, Allen, Lippe? If you don't study, if you don't put in all the hard work, then you have no excuse for not practicing homeopathy, well enough. You can excuse yourself by blaming your teachers and your colleges, but if you really want to be a homeopath, a good homeopath, a classical homeopath, a Hahnemann homeopath, then you have to put in hard work, and George Vithoulkas is a living example for all of us for that. George, another aspect that I feel about you, and I also see in your lectures, is that you have got a strong spiritual connection. There is, I know that you once mentioned in an interview long back that you read a lot of spiritual literature and that you have many spiritual influences. What to you is spirituality?
You see, first of all, I must explain why is this element in me. As I said, I lost both my parents during the Second World War, and I saw quite a lot of my relatives died or killed during the war. So there was immediately, in my very young years, questions arising. What is the purpose of us being here in this life? So from the very young age, I think I was 12 or 13 already, I had a strong urge for spiritual understanding. Why we are here? What are we doing? So my first connection was with Christianity. A younger man, he was 18. he was connected with Christian philosophy, and we had long discussions. I was 13, 14. We had long discussions, and I became attracted. And the element of spirituality, that means trying to find out who are we, why we are here, what is our purpose, is there is any purpose, or it is just accidental entities here in the earth. All this was from the very young year because most probably of what I have seen as life. The first impression for life was that life could stop from one moment to the other because of people fighting, especially because of wars. That's why I'm so much against the aggression and the wars in the world. And when I speak politically, I am very, very forceful in promoting peaceful ideas because the experience has molded me that when people fight with each other, the end result is terrible. So therefore, that was my line of thinking since the very young age. So eventually, as a young man, of course, I never involved in drugs or anything like that. But I was involved with the girls, with love affairs, with things like that. I saw the good things of a love affair, the bad things of breaking away, etc., which I'm teaching now. I saw the whole thing. But all this created even stronger urge to find out of who we are, why we are here, etc. And there was a driving force. Then I came in contact with the Hindu philosophy, and through some books I had read. And then I decided I will go to India, even to find out if what the books are writing is correct. They have found the connection with God through their practices, through their way of life, etc. So that spiritual element was there all along. That means a search for finding out the purpose in life. And I cannot say I have found the purpose of life. What I found on the way, it was a system of healing that could give peace to the people. Because I saw the aggression in the people reducing. So I saw the negative feelings could be reduced with a homeopathic remedy. So actually, I felt this search, spiritual search, was leading me to a path where I had to spread what I understood. It was bringing more peace and love to the people in a very practical way. So I followed this. I changed my path. Instead of staying in the monasteries on the Himalayas or wherever, and closed in a place where I will pray and meditate or whatever from morning till night to save the world, I felt this is a more practical way to do it. So homeopathy and spirituality for me, it are intermingled, are one complementing the other, and it is a great boon to the humanity if Hahnemann's teaching really could go through to the societies which are suffering at the moment. so much. So this is spirituality for me. This is my practical way of
Being spiritual.
spiritual development.